Hello and welcome back to Bags of Action. My name's Steve, my co-host is Pete.
Hello.
For our Christmas special this year, ho ho ho, we are
Jingle,
talking
jingle.
about
Right,
Carry On
we'll
Up
fix.
the Airport, or Carry On Die Harding, or Carry On something, or Carry On Luggage, maybe. Let's
Yes.
say that. Because it was Carry On Luggage, that's the final
Yeah.
irony.
I think it's weird. If you're an American, you go, "Oh, it's a film about luggage." If you're British, you go, "It's a Sid James biopic that no one told me about." Uh,
Explain to everybody who's not in England or Britain why we're
Sorry.
saying all
Well,
of this.
yes. So Carry On was that there's a series of films in the
Like
was it 60s,
36 films or something. It's insane.
and 70s. Producer on it shares my name, which is weird.
No relation.
Um, no relation. Bawdy comedy, so innuendo fueled comedy films with the same cast but different settings. So they were called Carry On Cowboy, Carry On Up the Khyber, Carry On Camping, etc.
Carry
Whereas,
on, nurse and
whereas this is
stuff.
called Carry On Nothing. So I've seen a lot of jokes. Facebook is full of people going, "This was a disappointing Carry On film. I didn't laugh once, and there were no boobs in it," um, etc.
Yeah.
But yes, it's just this is a film that just happens to be share the name of the name of that very popular franchise. Made more films than Marvel at the moment. Come on, Marvel, can you
Got to catch up.
can you catch up?
Yep.
Uh, and they look like they're going to be having the same cast over and over again as well. So it could be great.
Yeah, true,
Uh,
true. Yeah, bring back people slightly different characters. Robert Downey Jr. Yeah,
yeah, and
and
more
Chris
and more
Evans is back,
Evans.
and
And
probably
we
somebody
don't know what
else.
to do, so let's just put all the actors back in that you liked and hope they don't die. Uh,
Anyway, here we
Anyway,
are talking about Carry On, which is a Christmas film. It is desperate to be Die Hard, and not to kind of telegraph my score. It's not Die Hard. I'm
no,
just going to
it's not.
say that.
It's interesting. I've seen lots of articles about this is the new Die Hard. This is Die Hard for
No,
2024. And
no, it
it's like,
isn't.
well, it's closer to Die Hard 2 because it's in an airport.
Yes,
Um, it is a Christmas movie, but it's a blatant.
yes.
Let's make an action movie that's Christmassy because everyone goes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie, Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie, all Black's movies are Christmas movies, pretty much. So it's almost like it just feels a little bit. We know what the market needs. They need an action movie that's at Christmas. And then it just feels a little bit like it's been made for the audience rather than just made. Is that okay to say?
Yeah, I think it feels like they took some of their favorite things from lots of other favorite films. Maybe someone was even a fan of this kind of genre of films like us, and they've gone, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if we had like a Die Hard and a Speed with a creepy man talking in the ear of the main hero all the time, giving him directions and pop quiz. No, I can't say that. Okay, no, not pop quiz, something else. Yeah, that's it. Oh, the catchphrase. Yes, catchphrase. But direct catchphrase in a script for now. But in an airport and a Die Hardy type thing. Yeah, that'll be great. And that feels like what they started with when someone said, do as a script, and then they did this.
I do wonder if this will become a subgenre on Netflix because Christmas movies are huge. Like
Yep.
producers are always looking for Christmas movies because Christmas happens every year. So there's always the time for it. And people watch Christmas movies. There's like a whole subgenre of marry a prince at Christmas
Yep.
and a whole subgenre of go to a Scottish castle at Christmas. So I do wonder if there'll be the Die Hard ripoff at Christmas may become a Netflix subgenre for the next few years because this has done really well. This is, I think there's 40 or 50 million people watched it in the first weekend.
Mm.
Prime had similar numbers with Red One because that was in the cinemas for like 3 weeks and then was straight onto Prime. And that
Yeah.
another kind of Christmassy action movie that had crazy numbers. Now that they're starting to give you numbers, which
Yes.
is but yeah, that had
I
crazy
still
numbers.
need to go and watch that at some point. There's another one to watch. But let's talk about the writer because I was thinking, okay, maybe the writer is a sort of a fan of that kind of thing. And my first thought was maybe he's a young guy who's watched this kind of stuff years after the fact of the originals. Turns out, no. The writer is TJ Fixman, and from looking at his IMDb page, he's mostly worked on Ratchet and Clank, which is
Yes,
an animated
it did
thing.
video games, and then I think the film spin-off from that. His next project, however, off the back of Carry On, is the new Knight Rider movie he's writing.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes, which doesn't bode well for me. I mean, he might be great, but this just sounds a bit odd. But anyway, so
The
Carry On is
director,
his first action film.
yeah, and first live action film, I guess, as well,
Yeah.
which is a big step. But I guess again, because it's quite a high concept premise. Imagine Die Hard, but in an airport. Isn't that Die Hard 2? No, no, it's not because it's not a sequel. Okay, great, we're
It's
in.
like pitch meeting. Wasn't
Yeah,
that
it
Die
is.
Hard 2? Shut up already. Anyway, uh,
He's in an airport. Yeah. Sorry,
like Die Hard, but
sorry,
not Die Hard
of
2.
the pitch meeting guy, but yes. Um,
Um, well, there'll be a problem. Barely an inconvenience. No one will notice. Um,
And the director of this is interesting. So it's directed by Jem Collet Serra,
well
who I
done.
made sounds, I think, Spanish, but he's possibly French. Who directed Black Adam and Jungle Cruise, both starring The Rock, of
He
course.
is Spanish. Well done.
That's fine. So then I was correct. I please edit that out.
Yes, good.
Um,
No,
also directed Non-Stop and Run All Night with Liam Neeson. Then in my head today, I was thinking, imagine if The Rock played Ethan, and imagine if Liam Neeson played the Traveler. It'd be quite a different film.
he would have been
I
a lot more active than
It would have been
passive.
more active.
He would have gone. Rock would have gone. Yeah, I'm not doing that. The guy's too much of a wuss. He's too much of a pushover. I want to be punching people. I want to be killing them. I want to be throwing them through.
He's not going to.
Catchphrase,
He's not going to
catchphrase,
sit.
catchphrase.
He's not going to sit checking through bags for 20 minutes.
Nope, he's not going to be throwing up in a toilet because he's anxious. He's not going to be close to tears. He's not going to be running away from someone with a gun. He's going to run directly towards them and punch them in the
He's
face
also
really
not going to
hard
wear the uniform because he wants to wear a khaki shirt and a white.
to show off the guns. Welcome to the gun show.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it would have been quite a different film with a different
Yeah,
cast.
let's talk about who actually was in this film. So sorry, I just gave some dream casting. Ethan, who is a guy who works in airport security,
Mhm,
is played by Taron Egerton,
mhm.
a Welsh actor from the Kingsman films, Eddie the Eagle, and also a very good series called Blackbird on Apple. I don't know if you've seen that
No.
prison set drama. It's really good. And alongside him, his nemesis is Jason Bateman.
Mhm.
Let's not focus on Teen Wolf 2. Let's talk about Ozark and Game Night and all the other things that he's done more recently than that. But so two, for me, it's what they think they did. They spent all their money on two reasonably well-known A-list or A-list stars,
Yeah.
and then filled the rest of the cast with people that aren't. Not, I don't mean that in a rude way, but I think that's kind of the way it works. Sometimes you've got two tentpole actors, and then
Yes.
most people I was going, never seen that person before, never seen that person. There's two notable exceptions to that. There were two very interesting,
Yeah, go on.
recognized. One of which was Theo Rossi, who's in
Hmm.
Sons of Anarchy and The Penguin. He's
Yep.
in Army of Dead, but I mostly recognized him as Shades from Luke Cage.
Yep. Yep. And the
And
other?
and the other was Dean Norris from Breaking Bad.
Yes. He's been in everything. Dean Norris has been in um Starship Troopers. He's been in like every kind of cop show. If you go back and look at his IMDb
Yeah,
thing, Total Recall, the original, Tony,
Tony,
the Mutant,
yeah. But then you
Terminator
go back and you
2.
go, Terminator 2, he played SWAT leader. In
Yep.
Gremlins 2, he played SWAT leader. So he's one of those people, and I feel for him. Like he's had a whole career where he's mostly playing a cop because he has a cop's face.
Yep. Law
Some
enforcement of some
of
kind,
some
some kind
sort.
of authority
However, he
figure.
was in NYPD Blue for 4 episodes, and he played a priest.
Still kind
So
of authority figure,
they
though,
flipped
isn't
it.
it?
They flipped it. They
Mm.
flipped it.
Mm.
But yes, and of course here he plays the guy in charge
Of
of
the
airport
TSA, yes.
security,
Yep.
which is not a million miles away from SWAT team leader or his character in
It's a
Breaking
figure
Bad.
in authority. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's what you
But
expect to be,
it's a nice
Norris.
shorthand, I think. You see him and go, oh yeah, okay, this is a guy.
Yep, trust him. You know he's a straight arrow. You know he's a good guy. Yep, I'm with you. Good at.
And who else in this? So the Ethan's wife is played by Sofia Carson from Purple Hearts and Songbird, and then the detective lady on the outside is Danielle Deadweiler from Parallel and 40 Acres.
I think I've seen her in something, but it was bugging me, and I couldn't actually work out what it is. So it'll come back to me at some point, I think. But yeah, I don't know what I've seen her in. No, nothing's ringing a bell. But anyway, she was very good. I thought she was quite convincing. I thought she was believable. Sometimes when they put someone in a cop role, you're just like, I'm not buying it. They just seem completely lost. Her character was competent. They didn't do the old, oh, I've no clue what's going on, and now I'm dead. And they're just kind of written out, or they're just kind of there for a minute and then not used again. She actually had some agency. She actually had some competency about her. Um, she didn't do that thing of, no, even when I'm presented with the evidence, I'm not going to believe you because I'm right and I know best. And it's like, come on, some characters are just like that. And like, don't be two-dimensional. But with her, she actually went, well, okay, you show me a bunch of stuff. You had a chance to kill me. You didn't. And the character was like, okay, we're going to go with it now. So I like that they did that with her. They didn't
I,
just make her two-dimensional.
I thought that was refreshing. I think also the obvious thing to do would have been have had Dean Norris or someone similar's character as being in on it,
Yeah.
being a twist, and they didn't do that either. So
No.
for me, the first hour was really good because it
Mm.
was pretty much a cat and mouse thing between Jason Bateman's character talking in the earpiece
Hmm.
to Ethan, Taron Egerton's character. And I think that worked really well. It worked better when you didn't quite know who it was, and it was just this figure, and he's, acting out of character and doing different things, and you're not quite sure. Everyone else around him doesn't know why.
Mm.
That was to me some of the strongest stuff. I mean, before that, it opens with a Christmas tree farm, and I was like, okay, this feels just like Lethal Weapon, because that's exactly
Yeah.
what happens at the start of Lethal Weapon.
Yep.
Okay, we're into someone wants to be Shane Black. It's a Christmas,
Uh-huh. Here we go.
and then you have this weird scene of them going to work, and like, and now it is time for exposition on a bus.
Hmm.
It's not that this vehicle can't go above a certain speed. This conversation can't go
We need to
because
know that they're having a family.
they're
We
having
need
a
to know that
baby.
he wanted to be in the police force, but he's no longer in the police force. We know that he's not happy. Mm,
It did. That was, yeah. I was a bit. I mean, what it did well was it established that relationship, and you go, okay, they obviously are a very close, loving couple,
yeah.
and do slightly humorous moments in amongst there. But it did. You did be like, okay, right. So later, this is going to relate to the fact he wants to be a cop. I mean, it wasn't as blatant as a bit later on where someone goes, but in school you were a fast runner. He
But
runs really fast.
the thing is, right, that you said that establishes that he wants to be a cop thing, but they didn't actually use any of that at all. Like he
Yep.
worked out a few little bits by himself, but they didn't play into it very well. And I'm like, hang on, he should have been if they'd he was very, very passive. One of my biggest criticisms of the whole film is that Ethan character is very, very passive until the last 10% of the film. And
Yeah.
that made him quite you're supposed to root for him because he's the good guy and Jason Bateman is the bad guy. It's very black hat, white hat. It's very much like that for the whole film. And he was just so passive the whole time. He tried a couple of things at the beginning and then something went wrong and I'm thinking, if he was a cop, he should have, he went through the training and all the rest of it, and he just failed the exam. He should have been a bit smarter. He should have been a bit more clever. He should have realized things. They did a couple little tricks with him, but generally, I was just like, oh, he's just a bit of a wuss.
He pieced some things together quite well. Like he worked out that the guy was there,
Yeah,
and he worked, and then you go, oh, and then they just stopped happening. It's like, oh,
yeah,
he's starting to piece things together, but it's also like, well, we don't know. He went to training school, didn't get in. Don't really know why he didn't get in at this point, but
mhm,
I guess the one thing it did do is set up like he's not doing very well in his career because he's treading water because he really wants to be a cop.
yeah,
So today, of all days, he's going to try and push to get a promotion because they're having a baby, and that. I like the fact he swapped places with his friend, and it was supposed to be someone else that they'd researched. I thought that was a
yeah.
really
That was good. That was good.
angle.
Yeah.
So they were kind of having
There's
to play
genuine
catch up.
threat on that guy's family. They're like, there's someone in the house there with a gun. This is really And they did do some breadcrumbs things, which I got because if you're paying attention, you're supposed to. Like the guy in the house, you can see the tattoo on his arm, and he's going, "Am I taking them? Am I not taking them?" And then he doesn't. And then you see him in Ethan's house taking photos, looking around, live streaming stuff to Theo Rossi. We can see the tattoo again, and then blah blah blah. And then later on, when the twist comes, you're like, "Oh, this is why this is so strange." But you're right. I just felt like we needed more from him as a main character.
Yeah, because he's either got to be heroic or he's got to be charismatic,
Yeah.
and he didn't ever quite do either.
No.
Quite a bland character. He's probably the least interesting character in the film.
Hmm.
And there's a good actor there playing the part as well. And you just think, okay. And again, unfortunately, it's going to have people are going to compare it to Die Hard because they've said this is like Die Hard. Everyone, watch it. It's
Yep,
like,
yep.
well, Die Hard has possibly the most charismatic on-screen performance ever
Hmm.
from an actor who oozes charm.
Who plays up against? I mean, Jason Bateman is brilliant. I'm not going to deny that. He had more to do and more fun, but even then, he was a little bit. They didn't. The script wasn't good enough for him. Whereas you look at Alan Rickman and the whole. Ah, is that from so and so? I have two. It's just the little one-liners and Mr. Takagi. It's like, why is he talking so slow? And then they play it back and they go, oh, that's why, because he's brilliant and it's amazing. And then, so they both needed more meat on the
Yeah.
characters.
And I think as well, it's like, John McClane is there as the outsider. It's a high class party. He doesn't
Hmm.
outsider in his wife's world. And then I'm jumping ahead in my notes. The biggest thing I've listened to Stephen D'Souza, who wrote Die Hard at length, talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the whole thing with it was, oh, it's a one-man army film. It's not a one-man army film. It's a one-man army film in a way, but behind him, he's recruiting all these blue-collar workers to help him,
yep.
like the driver, like the cop.
Al, yeah.
Yeah. And in the second film, it's the same. He's got the luggage. We're in an airport here,
Hmm.
and the luggage handlers in this film, we
But they
walk
know
past.
him. But they know him. He goes, hey, and he like, oh,
Oh
there's
no,
the guy who's going to help him. No,
no! In the start of the film, they all know him. He
yes,
walks in and he's like, "Hey, he's the popular guy,"
yeah,
and he high
yeah.
fives everyone.
Like, oh, you're late again, buddy. Oh, and like
Then
these are the guys that
later,
are going to help him.
when
No,
he's in jeopardy, they're just like, "Who's that?" That was really odd. But I think that's the difference here is that in Die Hard, it's all about he puts a little team together in every film,
hmm,
in the first two anyway,
yeah,
of like blue collar workers who know more about what's going on than the white collar workers. That's kind of the like a bit of a thematic thing.
yeah.
Whereas here, he's got no one to helping him. There's nothing to push against apart from the villain, which makes
Hmm.
it more like Speed, which is I've always found Speed a little bit flat. Whereas Die Hard's got well, he's got all these people in the party he doesn't like. He's got the authorities who don't believe in him. He's got
Yeah,
everything against him.
yeah.
Whereas Speed is just as a guy on the phone telling you to drive a bus quickly. Um,
Pop quiz, hot shot.
drug. Um, and this almost leans more into that side of things because everyone at work kind of likes him. Then he's being a bit of a dick, but they kind of it's so kind of okay. It's weird. It's just his character just feels like you said, he's very passive. And then there's this weird thing, like halfway through the film, he goes, "No, that's it." Throws his earpiece down and stands up. And it's like, I don't know why? Well, I don't know exactly what prompted that because the threat is the same.
Yep,
And I think he meets Jason Bateman's character in person too early, and then they
right.
meet too many times.
Hmm.
There's no mystery. It's like, well, it's that guy in the hat.
Like when he's being sick in the toilet, he just turns up. Like, how
Yeah.
did you get round the back? He's like, hey, buddy, how you doing? I'm like, why is he now chatting with him? Why is he there?
COD psychology, because we get half the exposition from the wife chatting to him on the bus.
Yeah,
We get the other half of the exposition from the villain asking him a question. Well, so what about your life? Tell me about yourself. Which, in fairness, part of it is to build a picture so he knows what his weaknesses are,
yep,
perhaps.
yep.
At times, it's almost like there's no character that can find this out from you because you're not supposed to talk to anyone. I'll ask you because we need this in the script
We've
later.
already profiled him and found all this other stuff from your house, but we can't find any of that stuff from online. I'm like, what about the brilliant hacker guy and the guy who's been in your house? Why can't they do stuff and find stuff
The
that you've
kind
already
of
found out?
COD psychology stuff is a bit odd. Um, I just found it a bit odd. It's almost like, well, is he a baddie? Is he doing it for the right reasons? But they didn't really make sense. I like the bit where they were going to shoot her,
Hmm.
and the way they kind of with the gun in it, where they get in the gun into place and stuff.
Yeah.
There were some clever little bits.
The guy in the van with him who was hostage. You're like, who's he? And then later on you go, oh, okay. Right,
Yeah,
you know.
that stuff was really good. I thought him having to fight the guy, but the neither of them they were both victims. That
Hmm.
was really clever. So it's weird that some stuff was so well done and other stuff was so that'll do. It just had this
Hmm.
weird kind of. I mean, if they kept the level of the first 45, 50 minutes up, it
Yeah.
could have been very good.
Yeah.
But it just kind of got into this. It just got a bit silly. Is probably the
Mm.
best way I could describe it. Now, I'm not saying that Die Hard is a documentary. Die Hard gets pretty silly as
What do you
well.
mean? What
Uh,
are you saying, Pete? The guy goes to a party in Nakatomi Plaza. Everyone knows this. Well,
that,
it's on the record. It's been there
is
for
that
30 plus years.
true? But because you care about the character enough and because enough stuff has happened, you go
Yep.
with it.
Yeah.
Here, I wasn't really going with the character. I didn't really like latch on to him.
So I get it. In some ways, the argument would be he had no choice because his girlfriend's under threat, and therefore, if he doesn't, they're going to hurt her. And the guy gives him two warnings with the phone, and then when he's on his watch, and they put it in the drawer, and then he breaks the rule again, and they kill that guy from security. And I'm like, yeah, oh, see, if he doesn't do it now, they're actually going to kill his girlfriend. Like, okay, at that point in the script, that's where he should have found a way to circumvent or outsmart the guy to give him a brief window, a brief reprieve, something where he says, "Oh, I've got to go and do the security thing now." And he goes in, and there's no like he goes into the break room at one point, and the guy goes, "Well, there's no cameras in there. We can't see what he's doing." And like, I can't really hear him, you know. So like that's when he's in the room with his friend, and no, they could hear him, but they couldn't see him, and he just sort of says, "I'm sorry," and he's holding up a thing that would say, so, "I'm under threat. Someone's talking my earpiece. I'm sorry. Put alcohol in your drink, or call 911, but don't use your cell phone in a public something like." And then he goes back outside and carries on. But now he's got a seed, and now he's got an ally who's doing stuff. And then, someone passes a message to his girlfriend who has to get called away in emergency. And suddenly he's now playing against Jason without him
Yeah,
knowing. But they
yeah.
didn't do that. They just left him as, well, oh, well, I'll do what you say. And then the last 10% is like, well, now I'm going to try and save her. And I'm like,
But it relied on an outside force because if it wasn't for the female detective,
yes,
she's doing a lot of the work outside again, which is very un-Die Hard. In
yep,
Die Hard, the outside people are piecing bits of it together until they realize, particularly in the second one, they kind of the airport. But again, it's the guy in the
the
airport tower.
tower. Yep,
Like, oh, actually, I think this guy's got a point. Here, it's I don't know. If she wasn't in the film, he wouldn't have won the
no,
day, I think.
no.
Which is not again, it's not doesn't really feel like he's got enough agency then to carry the story because he's kind of just reacting to things that are happening and then someone else is going to help him sort it out at the end.
I feel like what you were saying earlier about having a bigger name. I think they probably sold Taron on the idea of it. I don't know if he saw the script beforehand. Maybe he did. Maybe he was just happy with an action role compared to the stuff in the past that he's done that's been more. I mean, obviously he did do Kingsman, but that was more jokey and more comic booky and more accentuated and exaggerated. This is very, very a grounded action film, if you like. And there's no supernatural, there's no weirdness. And maybe that's what he was looking for, a more serious action role. But the script, I think if it had gone to a really big name, they would have gone, yeah, he's too weak. You need to give him more to do, and you need to make him more active, and you need to make him work stuff out before I'll take it on. Go away and rewrite it with that in mind. And I wonder if he was just more like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it. It's just, on reflection, I wonder if he's like, oh, that was fun, or doesn't even bother him at all.
Yeah, it's a job to know, isn't it?
Hmm. Is
With
this
that,
what one for him, one for them sort of thing when they do films sometimes, remember?
yeah, maybe I don't know. It had so much potential though. Or maybe, he read the whole thing and just thought, well, the first half's great. Once we get to it, the rest will be at the same level. It just but who knows? Or maybe there was a version of the script that they went, oh, this is too similar to Die Hard. We need to change it. We need something to happen from outside. We need to, maybe they went so far away from that original one person's safe
Mm,
everyman thing that it kind of ate its own tail a little bit. It's a shame. Say at the start, I just thought it also, I kept forgetting it was Christmas, which in a Christmas action movie, apart from them going, there's loads of planes here because it's Christmas Eve,
hmm.
it didn't feel that like the opening bit that was really Christmassy.
Yep.
But I wanted some snow. I wanted to see somebody in a giant like
Santa outfit or
inflatable
something.
Santa suit accidentally knocked over by Jason Bateman. I
Yeah.
want something like that. I wanted the kind of tropey comedy. Well, comedy it could have done with some laughs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It played super straight, but it's also really silly, which
Mm.
is a really hard balance. You get like a Dirty Harry kind of really straight kind of action movie, or you get something with a bit, but it just needed a little bit of brevity, which I don't think was ever quite there. But it also didn't have enough gravitas to mean you didn't mind that there was no brevity. Does that make sense? So maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe a
It's
little bit vanilla, I guess, is the. the best way to describe it.
I think it needed closer direction in terms of the script stage of like, right, is this supposed to be a feel good film? It's feel good only because he wins, but he didn't actually do enough to really feel like he was, you know, he won because he was brilliant. It's just he won mostly by just going along with what the bad guy did. If it's more of a comedy, action comedy, they need some one-liners, they need some input from some other characters. You had the guy who's the rapper or the musician guy. He had a tiny thing, and then later on another tiny little thing. Nothing there. No jokes. That guy who's like ex-military or something, who's worked at the
Yeah,
other table, ex-cop. You're like, oh, there's something there. He'll know. And then he
yeah,
goes, oh, you never know about that people. And you're like, oh, so he's just a complete dumbass who doesn't know anything
yeah. No,
either.
I was waiting for him to
Yeah,
be really competent and actually be a real problem
yeah.
because he was going to get in the way
Be
and
an
like,
asset for Ethan to help him with the
yeah,
problem, and he was just like, nope, nope.
no, it's a massive missed opportunity, I think.
Mm.
I, I think as well, it's like it's an advert for being mildly competent because like, the ending was really like really obvious when they did like a jump forward. I'm glad they did a jump forward because it may mean there's no sequel. Um, but the kind of little bit of a jump forward, like, well, what's he doing now? And it's like,
Oh,
oh, you'd make a really good cop. Oh, would I? Yes, you would. And then he puts a cop's badge down in.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
scanner at the end.
Oh, that's because he was mildly competent for a whole day.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I quite often, because I'm a very conscientious person. Quite often, I watch a film and I'll go, "How are they going to explain all this? And who's going to pay for the damage?" Like, I'm about 20 minutes into most films going, "He's just killed 20 people." Now, when he goes back and explains to them they're all in self-defense, like, will that actually wash? Because
How's he
I
going
hear
to
it's
get the body out of the plane that's fixed the air seal? Are they going to have to cut it out the plane to take it
no.
out? And then do they just take it to an empty house or building and let it out into the air? Or do they go to a special
And
to
who
get
knows?
the
Like, how
poison
much?
gas? How'd you get it
Yeah,
out?
yeah. All these. Yeah,
So so about the bomb thing, right? I liked the twist that the guy with the red baseball cap bringing it through customs was also a victim.
I love that.
That was good. That was really clever because you didn't know because he wasn't just like a vanilla kind of guy until he got them alone in the room and you saw the earpiece and you thought, ah, okay, and that's the guy in the back of the van.
But
But
then, what they should have done is cut to a wide of the airport, and everyone's got an earpiece in the whole airport. That would have been amazing.
flash mob.
Yeah.
But it just that was good. So the fact that the guy who's bringing it through has no choice either, and that was quite interesting. But and Dean Norris just dies with a pen, and I'm like, okay. Oh, right. I was like in that scene. I just kept saying, "Shoot the guy with the baseball cap," because I know he dies later on, but also he didn't know that he wasn't a terrorist and a criminal who's in on it. And if he'd shot him, he then could have just gone to Dean and gone, "Oh, I've done it," and then he wouldn't know until he tries to speak to the other guy. But then it creates more problems as opposed to just like we got what we wanted. The story can move on now. I think every time they got to a problem in the script, they went for the easiest solution and just moved forward.
I
And it
think they're
made it more vanilla, as you said.
the equivalent of the travelator in the
Yes.
air. It's just constantly going forward, and it will get
Yep.
to the destination. And
Yeah.
there might be some obstacles, but they'll be fine.
Yeah. It's like someone's pressed the emergency stop button and someone goes, "Don't worry, I've got it." And they push it again and you start moving forward again. No. Oh, never mind. Like,
That person's coming the wrong way. Excuse me, coming the wrong way. Okay, sorry, I'll turn around. Thanks.
that's it. That's it. The script can carry on and the plot can move forward. And you're
There's a
like,
dog. There's a dog. There's a dog. He's on the lead. It's fine.
smell something funny. Is that fire burning? Oh, did you just press the fire on, get everybody out of the airport? No, no, it's fine. It's just some hot cheese or something. Oh, okay. It's just like,
Hot cheese is quite a good review.
hot cheese.
This is hot cheese.
This
Film.
film is hot cheese.
Hot cheese.
What do you think of Jason Bateman then?
I think he's very good, but he's always very good. But he's very Jason Bateman, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of knew what to expect from him.
Mm.
I was hoping for something else, a little bit more of a quirk, a little bit more of maybe.
He didn't need to have a scar. He didn't need to have a weird accent. There needed to be something about him because him as what's he even called? The passenger or the traveler? Or something, right? As a character, we know nothing about him at all, right? Apart from he works for the highest bidder, and that's about it. So So I think it is in Speed, your least favorite film, where we find out about the Dennis. Is it Dennis Quaid?
It's Hopper.
That's Horace Hopper. Sorry, we find out about his character because they're investigating him on the outside whilst this is going on. Jeff Daniels and other people are looking into it when he's not on the bus, but they're starting to piece it together based upon some other stuff. If he'd got his mate in on it, and then his mate goes off and starts investigating stuff, and he's got like the guy in baggage claim helping him, and they're starting to piece together, we could then have you could have had Ethan asking him
Yeah.
certain questions and be like, well, how do you know that? And then we start to get layers on the Jason Bateman character. As he is, he's a bad guy who does bad things for money, and you go, and well, that's it. That's the whole story about his character. Oh, whereas we've got the full backstory on Ethan, right down to the bloody, his
His
father
dad
was
was a dirty cop.
no, he was a yeah, something. Yeah, he stole or something. You're like, oh, okay.
It didn't make much sense either. It, yeah, it's weird. Um, but yeah,
Hans
another
Gruber, we know
comparison.
everything about him.
Always go back to The Rock because Ed Harris's character in The Rock,
Mhm.
the villain, don't like him, but he has a justifiable reason for what he's doing. That 10% of you goes, yeah, you got a point.
Yeah, Thanos makes sense up to a point.
Yeah, but here it's like, well, that's the highest bid. I don't know what I'm. And then you think maybe there'll be a redeeming feature when he realizes that the whole airport's got to die. Maybe he will, but no.
No, no. He's like, you would if he said, I have to draw a line somewhere and something, you're like, oh, there is somewhere he won't go. No, no, there isn't. He'll kill everybody. He'll kill 300 people. And you're like, oh, women and
And
children. Yep, yep.
and himself.
And he's got the parachute, but like, but yeah, he said he's going to kill himself. And I'm like, no, he isn't. No, he won't. And then he doesn't. And you're like, well, I saw that coming because you just told us. So I find it a very frustrating watch. I mean, if you turn your brain off and just sit back and passively watch it whilst slightly drunk, it's fine. It's fine. If you start to ask questions, like you said, you're like, well, how does that work? And who pays for that? And where does that come from? What? Then you start going like, no, have another beer because it just starts to come apart.
They're doing like, Dean Norris is great, but he's hardly in it.
Yep.
Giovanni is great, but he's hardly in it. Taron Egerton is really good, but he's just, I don't know. They just give him a very vanilla part to play in a very vanilla film. Jason
Yep.
Bateman does what Jason Bateman does. I don't know if this is more of a symbol of just what modern films are, which is kind of like tribute movies to old films, which makes me sad and also old. But like all the layers we've talked about,
Mm.
it's almost like I'll just do. It's like a cover version. Do that, but with none of the interesting bits. Like take out the guitar solo, just and that big thing with the drums, but just play it straight. And it's
Instead of getting a really good drummer, can we just have a synth and just play drums all the way through? And you're like, mm. And instead of electric guitar, can we just get a keyboard that sounds like a guitar? Put that in. And then it just starts to feel artificially built. And this film felt like that. They could have got some better script writers in to punch it up and be like, right, this is a good early draft. Give him more to do. Make the villain more interesting. Make him have a bit of, a few more twists, a little bit of humor to balance the kind of really dark moments. No, no. I don't know. I think you're right. I think some films now feel so much like a tribute to ones that were great before that it felt like a Me Too kind of thing. It was trying to be a bunch of other films that were better than it.
I think it would as well as like you've got an up and coming guy. He's been to police training school, but he's never done any actually police work. But he can kind of do detective stuff, but he kind of can't. But he's also really good with the conveyor belt.
Mm.
But imagine this as something a bit like Nobody, the
Yes.
old guy, special forces, retires, wants something to do in his spare time, and decides just an easy job. He's just going to sit and scan through stuff.
Oh,
They pick him because he's the weakest link.
I'm just a cook.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm just a cook, and then he's actually better than they are, and he just ties them up. That would have been more interesting than
Gets the girl out of his chair, put him in a wheelchair. I'm just a cook.
moderately competent man versus another moderately competent man for 2 hours.
Steve Seagal just like that.
Yeah.
He can't actually use his legs because they're.
Oh, the amount of new films now where his voice is dubbed by someone else. But he won't do
Seagulls.
he won't do pickup lines. So like ADR when they go back
Oh,
in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So halfway through a sentence, suddenly becomes someone else's voice. Very odd. And he won't, I think he's conscious of his weight now, so he's in the shadows quite a lot, and his face
Hmm.
just kind of appears out.
Yep,
Very
yep.
odd. I used to love his films back in the day, but I can't see a reason to watch ones he makes now. Dean
Yeah.
Norris was in Hard to Kill, interestingly enough, which is a Stephen.
There you
I
go.
think
You
he
see.
played a cop. I have a feeling.
Probably some kind of authority figure, I guess, or a priest.
Yeah, okay. Make Dean Norris the main character, and he's a retired cop who's doing it.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome. Ah, he's getting ready to retire. I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
You know?
Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan, semi-retired. Arnie. Let's chuck
Hmm.
someone old in there. Maybe it's
I,
just 'cause we're older now. We want older people in all the films.
I don't know. I think they could have made it a lot more interesting. I think they could have added a lot more wrinkles. They could have created a lot more problems for both characters. Not Jason Bateman was constantly ahead all the time. Like even when something went wrong, he went, "Okay, we'll just pivot and do this. Now do that. Right. Oh, he's triggered. He's found the bomb. Oh, now set it off. Right. Now you've got this long before you can defuse it." When he got the gun off him. And it's like he was always one step ahead. There was no point in the whole film where he was like, I'm actually in trouble. Even at the end, when he gets into the plane and he goes, "Oh, are you down here, Ethan?" He's like, he knows it's going to be Ethan who would have been stupid to get in there. Like, even then, he's not really worried until the last 2 seconds. And then you go, well, okay, I saw that coming too.
I think in the other films we've talked about, that you almost go, well, if anyone else was the hero, they wouldn't have won. It had to be that guy. With this, you go again, another mildly competent person that did okay on their
Yeah, yeah.
would
I mean, at the
just
start of Commando, he's walking down a hill, having chainsawed a tree, carrying it on his shoulder. I mean, you put Alan Ritchson in this role, now you've got a film.
yeah.
And so, Arnie, the new Arnie today is Alan Ritchson from Reacher. You put him in this Taron Egerton role of Ethan, that is a new film. That is, I want to watch that. I want to see what happens now. A giant dude would rip through everybody, like everybody.
Although the new Caesar Reach has got the Dutch giant in it as the villain, so
Paulie, and he's even bigger. And he goes, guy's twice as big as me. Last time I saw someone twice as big as he was on Mount Rushmore. Says Neely. I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
yeah, me neither. But there's
I,
lots of ways this could have gone. It could have gone older. They could have gone
yep,
more.
yep.
Older, yeah.
Buff. Yep.
I like Taron Egerton. It's like I like
Same. He's
one
a
of the
good
reasons
actor.
one of the reasons I wanted to watch it. I was like, oh, not okay. Everyone, after Die Hard, there were hundreds of
Hmm.
person in a confined place against villains films. Sudden Death, Under Siege,
Under Siege. Yeah.
Under Siege 2, uh,
Just a cook. Yeah.
on
Um,
a train.
Snakes on a train, snakes on a plane. Oh, it's all kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, and
Um,
but they kind of went away a bit, and then it feels like they're coming back. So again, it's a bit like Phone Booth, it's a bit like Speed, and I was a bit like, do I want to watch another film like that? And do you know what? Yes, because there aren't enough action films being made.
mhm.
Taron Egerton's really good, and Jason Bateman's really good. This could be really interesting. And again, apart from the huge chunks of exposition,
Mm.
40 minutes in, I'm like, oh, this could be really clever, and then it stopped being clever, and then it finished.
Yeah, I think it was far too predictable. I think it was far too vanilla. I think you're right. They just kind of skated along past anything that could have been really awkward or difficult for the villain. Um, if you want a really good Christmas film that's really violent, watch Violent Night with from
Harbour.
David Harbour from Stranger Things as Santa. That is
That's
basically
confused with
Home
Silent.
Alone meets Die Hard. No, it's Home Alone meets Die Hard in a house
Okay.
with Santa, who's really violent and kills people.
Because I get that mixed up with Silent Night, which is the John Woo one with no dialogue in it.
This is Violent Night,
Oh, it's okay.
where, yeah, literally Home Alone, but lethal.
Good.
So that's a great Christmas film. I recommend that over this for
And
Christmas.
I think, we've come out of semi-retirement. unlike which is so the character should have done the same as us. He should have come back after a brief.
It's really
Um,
busy at Christmas. We're understaffed. We need you, buddy. Can you
yeah,
come in for just because really busy period? Yeah,
I
sure,
wasn't
I'll
even
come in. Come
supposed
in.
to be here today. That kind of crap. Um,
No, it's supposed to be here. Clark's joke for everyone who doesn't get that. Clark's joke. Sorry, Tim.
so and I wanted it to be more Christmassy. At some point they go, I need you to join the carol singers. What? I need you to join the carol singers and sing a coded message. What? More of that, please.
Yep.
Someone carrying a giant teddy bear to give to
Yep.
them at Christmas. It needed
hmm
more Christmas. A
Yep.
lot.
Yep.
I think some of the script holes could have been pasted up with snow and just more Christmas.
Someone's trying to get a sled through customs. At one point, he has to get through, and he jumps on it and goes down some stairs in the customs
Exactly.
in the luggage area, and jumps off and attacks someone. I mean, it's what you want. You want a whole team of villains, not just one guy on the phone.
Although
You know?
I think the Novichok thing, people in Britain are like, yeah, Salisbury. Yeah,
Yep.
Salisbury
Yep.
Cathedral. No,
Yep.
we all know this. They went to check Salisbury, the height of Salisbury Cathedral. We know that what that is. So that when that name came up, it's like
Ooh,
we need your nerve agent. It's like, no, we know that. We know that in the UK. Could have been all carry on Novichok, but it would have um,
that's a
given,
no. That's a very very different.
given the game away.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Are we ready to give it some scores?
I believe so. I think I may have changed my score while we're talking about the film, but yes,
Okay. So, for those who don't know, it's 1 to 5 bags, five being the max, and there are no half bags.
it makes it really hard sometimes.
hmm Do you want to go first, Pete, or shall I?
Uh, After you, Stephen.
I knew you'd do that. Okay. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fairly competent. And if that's all we're going to get from action films these days, that's really disappointing. Fairly competent, like the main character, does just good enough to win and get loads of viewings or win the film or beat the villain sounds really disappointing. And it's not a case of, oh, they don't make all films in the old days are much better. They are making good films these days, and they have made some, but action films that have been really good. And there are good characters on TV that are competent and are interesting, and villains likewise. I think the whole thing needed more wrinkles. I think it needed more layers, the characters, the plot needed more texture. We needed to care more about his fate. But it just was quite bland, and he was far too passive as a character for me until the last 10 minutes, maybe. The one-on-one thing doesn't work if they never actually go up against the guy until right at the very, very end, because there's just a voice. You can't fight a voice, and lots of other people constantly kind of hemming him in all the time and just kind of, corralling him. It didn't work. So I'm actually only going to give this 2 out of 5 bags.
Wow. Okay.
I thought about 3 and I thought, no, it's not a 3 bagger. No, it's a 2 bagger. That's it.
I feel very similarly to you about
Hmm.
everything you just said. Um, but yeah, I guess the same thing. It's like there's no the main character didn't have any charisma, so I didn't
Nope.
really. It was very by the numbers. Um, it just wasn't enough peril really, and there wasn't enough Christmassiness,
hmm
and it just yeah. I was originally I messaged you. I was originally going to give this 3 because I thought, well, it sets up a 4 bag movie, then the second half is a second 2 bag movie. But I thought, but what is my point of reference? Is it just the films that are out now? And
Mm.
that's not how time works. So
That's all.
or scoring. So then you go, well, actually, okay, we're talking about films like Die Hard.
Mhm.
We're talking about films like Speed, which I'm not as big a fan of.
Lethal
Big
Weapon,
Weapon, Phone Booth,
Siege, Phone Booth.
all these films, and you go, but they were really good. It's like, and they're not just because I was younger and I didn't know as much. I wasn't as film literate. They're
Mm.
because they did the things that this film didn't do. Made you
Yep.
care about the character, up the stakes, did something clever that you didn't see coming that wasn't just for show, that was character based. Because it's twofold here. You don't have a character you're really rooting for, but he also doesn't really go on an arc.
Yep.
Really, there's no, which I think is in some ways it's a problem where the bigger, better stuff now tends to be TV, not films, where they can tell a longer form story, and it isn't as
True.
arc dependent. It's not an arc within one story. The arc might take the character over 8 seasons. The
Mm.
arc of the character might be over one season. The arc of the character might be over half a season. It depends. Whereas a film is all it should usually have some kind of character arc for the main character and potentially for multiple characters. This, I think, could have worked really well as like a 6 or 8 part series. Now, that sounds a bit weird because it's one day in an airport and it should be more tense, but the way
24.
modern stuff is made,
Jack Bauer,
yeah, you
24.
could have
One
had more
day.
wrinkles. You could have had, he's worked this thing out, cliffhanger. Oh, he's going to shoot the wife, cliffhanger.
Mm.
Shit, he's killed Dean Norris, cliffhanger. Well, they're making a sequel to Cliffhanger, by the way. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Cliffhanger. Um, I think it actually could have worked better as a series. I think
Mm.
and that's where this weird thing where TV and film have kind of almost intertwined, that people don't necessarily know how to sell, how to write and make a one-off story
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Because
Franchise, franchise, franchise. Do a sequel, do a sequel, do a sequel.
but
Turn it
then
into
there's
something. And you're
lots of
like,
stories that never end, but actually beginning, middle, and end, character arc, bosh, done. Whereas this is just like, although they do wrap it up at the end, and it does feel like this
yeah.
is done for good, hopefully. Um, Although it's done really well, they probably will make another one.
His
Uh,
brother, the Traveler's brother, is now
yeah, like
coming.
Extraction was really good, but that certainly felt like a wrapped up movie, and then they made a second one.
I haven't
And that
watched that
really
yet.
felt like a wrapped up movie, and they made a second one.
I still haven't watched the second one yet. I
Second
just,
one's
I,
all right, it's good.
uh,
It's not as good, but it's good.
yeah. See,
It also wasn't
diminishing.
movie because the story had been told.
Yeah.
But I think so. It's just lacking in lots of things, and I could have given it 3 by taking the average of 4 for the first half, 2 for the
Mm.
second half. But it's like, no, I didn't enjoy it as much as the 3. I'm also gonna give it 2 bags, and that's where it stands against other. It's made me want to go and watch other Christmas action movies instead. It makes me
Hmm.
want to watch like Lethal Weapon and Die Hard and Die Hard 2 and
Yeah.
various.
This makes me want to go and watch Die Hard 2 to see a really, really good action film at Christmas with John McClane. I mean, it is one of the best. I mean, Die Hard as a franchise as a whole, the quality goes down a lot after three.
Yeah, totally.
Four is pretty poor. Five is abominable. It's absolutely terrible. But those first three, I would say, are absolutely some of the best action films ever made.
And they're not just because it's a returning character, which is
No,
the problem. Oh, it's because it's no. The second
no,
film, the first film was based on a novel. The
yeah,
second film was based on a different novel. And actually, if Die Hard 2 was a standalone film, it still works.
yes,
Yes, there are extra bits that pull from the other film, but it still works on its own. And
mm,
I love Die Hard. Die Hard is a seminal action movie classic. But for different reasons, I like Die Hard 2 almost as much.
yes,
It's
yeah.
just a really, really well done thriller.
Mm.
Um,
So basically, Carry On needs to do better. Carry on better, I think, is the do much must do better next time would be the tagline for me.
it was all right.
Carry on regardless,
It was all right.
Carry on vanilla.
Don't carry on.
Carry on vanilla latte, as bland as you can get.
I don't know. This time of year, though, gingerbread, you can't beat a gingerbread latte, can you?
No, well, this is why. Carry on vanilla. Plain and boring, please.
Whereas it's Christmas, it should have been carry on gingerbread, and then everything would have been fine.
Yeah, where's the eggnog? Where's the kind of jokes? Where's this, something? No, it's all gone. Anyway, right. Have you seen Carry On? If so, what did you think? Do you think we're being too harsh? I don't think so. If you have seen Carry On and you didn't like it, go and watch Die Hard and then Die Hard 2, and you can thank us later. We're not on social media anymore these days. Can't really be asked. So you could email us, but we won't really see it. But thanks anyway.
We're both
Sophie.
working in airport security over Christmas.
Yeah, if you're working airport security, I'm sorry to hear that. It's a tough job. You've got awful people to deal with every day and twice as many over Christmas. So thank you for all your hard work. I do appreciate it to all of you working there in airport security. So happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy holidays to everybody out there. Pete, wrap us up if you can remember how.
Um, Thank you for watching, if indeed you still are, and Happy New Year in
Happy
advance.
Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone.
Enjoy 2025. We may be back, we may not. Who knows? We don't.
Much like Carry On.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.